Let's say some prayers. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadkamlam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Satam Sajivam साधवेतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्ता राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्य ईश्वरम् गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. I have this little book. So this is just the introduction to Bhagavad Gita. It's of course given in the front of Bhagavad Gita as well. So Bhagavad Gita, let me see. In the very beginning, if you have Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, it mentions two things that we need to understand. Number one, Prabhupada has, who can tell me, Prabhupada has dedicated this Bhagavad Gita to which personality? You should know that.
I can share.
Yes.
Baldev Vidyabhushan.
Yes, Prabhupada has dedicated his Bhagavad Gita to Baldev Vidyabhushan. So Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, every single thing is important. So this is like the first or second page. He says, this is the dedication of Prabhupada to Baldev Vidyabhushan. So he says, to Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan, who presented so nicely the Govinda Bhasya commentary on Vedanta philosophy. So Baldev Vidyabhushan is another of our scholarly acharyas, a teacher, very ancient. So he's not, of course, he came after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He comes after Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So in that time I'm talking about. And he wrote Govinda Bhasya commentary. So if some of you, I know that like Hema Mataji has strong roots in Rajasthan. If you go to Govindji temple there, so it is said that if you look at the Govindji deity, he will steal your heart. And some devotees share their like real life experiences that when they sit in front of Govindji deity, they cannot think of anything else for many days after, because that form of Govindji lodges in your heart, and it's very powerful presence. Like Govindji deity has a very powerful presence. And so in front of that Govindji deity, Baldev Vidyabhushan sat and wrote this commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. And that commentary is called, so Srimad Bhagavatam, you're all familiar with, it has 12 cantos, 18,000 verses. So he wrote a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, and that is called Govinda Bhasya. From that Govinda Bhasya commentary, Prabhupada has taken all his inspiration for this Bhagavad Gita. So he has used that commentary to write this Bhagavad Gita. So that's one point I wanted to comment on, to know who he has commented, who he has dedicated this Bhagavad Gita to, and we can one day discuss the history of Baldev Vidyabhushan as well, this great acharya that inspired Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada has mentioned the other thing, very important thing in the first few pages of Bhagavad Gita is the disciplic succession. The disciplic succession. So this is the disciplic succession. So Prabhupada has started from Krishna, of course. Remember, disciplic succession means Guru Shishya Parampara. So we are taking this knowledge not whimsically. We are taking this this is a descending process of knowledge that has come down directly from Krishna. So Prabhupada is giving the teacher that he got the knowledge from. And if you ask that teacher, he will be able to quote a teacher that he got the knowledge from. So, and in this way, if you keep following this Guru Shishya Parampara, you will reach Krishna. So ultimately, all the knowledge is coming from Krishna. So this disciplic succession is mentioned, this Guru Parampara is mentioned in the in Bhagavad Gita. So we should know some of these acharyas. Like Krishna, so the first few are Krishna gave this knowledge to Brahmaji. Everyone should know this. Brahmaji gave this knowledge to Narad Muni. Narad Muni gave this to Vyasadeva, as you know in the first few chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam, how Narad Muni comes and gives the knowledge to Vyasadeva. So Narad Muni is a teacher of Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva gave it to Madhvacharya. Okay, so Madhvacharya, and then there are many other teachers that we are not very familiar with or not we don't hear about them too often, but then the whole disciplic succession is mentioned until we come to Madhvendra Puri. So Madhvendra Puri ke baad se, after Madhvendra Puri, who is number 20 on the list, from 20 to 32, we should know the sequence. And I can't say that I know the sequence very confidently, but I know if I had to think hard, I can mention. So I know Madhvendra Puri ke baad aate Ishwar Puri. After Ishwar Puri comes Lord Chaitanya, of course, and you know the 6 disciples of Lord Chaitanya are the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. Then comes Krishnadas Kaviraj, who wrote Chaitanya Charitamrit. Because he's a disciple of Raghunath Das Goswami. Like that, the disciplic succession goes until it comes down to our A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So everyone should try to memorize this. So I'm slowly giving the memory points, and I know that in the past we have sometimes neglected to memorize, but this time I really encourage everyone to try to memorize these things because it's for our purification. It's not that you need to answer on an exam or a test or before entering into the spiritual world there will be a test, there will be multiple choice questions. It's not that, but it just keeps your intelligence engaged in Krishna conscious activities. So memorizing the verses or memorizing a disciplic succession, reading about the histories of our Vaishnavacharyas, memorizing the songs written by Vaishnavacharyas, reading the translations or purports of those songs. So somehow or other, we keep our mind and intelligence engaged in this knowledge. That's why all this knowledge is there. Instead of listening to all the news of this world uselessly night after night, day after day, scrolling on social media, just continuously reading people's posts on Facebook, what does that add to anybody's life? Hearing those breaking news all the time, there's nothing breaking about those news. It's just a lot of stuff is made up, a lot of stuff is not even real. You cannot trust any of the news outlets anymore. So instead of wasting time on all this news, all this social media posts, let's engage our mind and intelligence in this, in all these various, intellectual, this feast for our mind and intelligence that has been made available to us by our acharyas. And then you will not get distracted in the material world and the material affairs so much. So, yen kain prakaren mana Krishna niveshyet. किसी भी तरीके से अपना मन, अपनी इंटेलिजेंस, अपना मन, बुद्धि, अहंकार को कृष्णा में लगाना है. So Namita Mataji is asking, where is the succession? Mataji, it's in the first few pages of Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. So I have marked it. If you see the first few, the first 5 you should know, and then from 20 to 32, if you can see my first 5 and 20 to 32, we should know. If not possible, all of them, at least we should know like the last 5 or so. Okay, let's start reading our introduction again. I will not go back. We'll just keep going forward because I want to finish between today and next week's class. So we have to read from here. We'll take turns to read. So we had finished where Prabhupada was saying that Krishna is all perfect. He's Purnam. And this world is also complete. The jivas are also complete for the purpose that they are made for. So let's... we should only consume what is intended for us. Let's read from here. Who wants to read this paragraph?
I can read Mataji if there's no one available.
Yes, Mataji, please go.
In this world, men are not meant for quarreling like cats and dogs. Men must be intelligent to realize the importance of human life and refuse to act like ordinary animals. A human being should realize the aim of his life, and this direction is given in all Vedic literatures, and the essence is given in Bhagavad Gita. Vedic literature is meant for human beings, not for animals. Animals can kill other living animals, and there is no question of sin on their part. But if a man kills an animal for the satisfaction of his uncontrolled taste, he must be responsible for breaking the laws of nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly explained that there are three kinds of activities according to different modes of nature: the activities of goodness, of passion, and of ignorance. Similarly, there are three kinds of eatables also: eatables in goodness, passion, and ignorance. All of this is clearly described, and if we properly utilize the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, then our whole life will become purified, and ultimately we will be able to reach the destination which is beyond this material sky.
Beautiful.
It's
So, just like last time, we'll continue in the same fashion. I'll just mention a couple of points before moving on. So, one concept mentioned here is animals can kill other living animals. So, someone can say, why should humans not kill animals? Why are animals allowed to kill other living animals? Because in animal species, in lower species, or even in higher species, there is no karma. Okay. Only in human life, there is karma. So human life has a great responsibility. It is very valuable because all our actions matter a lot. Our karmas matter a lot. Whatever action we do, we perform, we get a reaction. So in our species, in our yoni, human species, the action has a great responsibility because that leads to a reaction. So that's why Prabhupada say animals can kill other animals. That's fine because they don't know any better. They don't have that responsibility of karma, but there is no question of sin on their part, right? But if a man kills animal for the satisfaction of uncontrolled taste, he will be responsible for breaking the laws of nature, because as humans of advanced consciousness, of advanced intelligence, we have been given advanced resources in this body, that we should have understood the laws of nature and we have to abide by the laws of the nature. It's like a parent has two kids. One is only 2 year old and the other is 12 year old. The 2 year old can break certain laws because he doesn't know any better, but 12 year old has been taught, has knows the laws, has been taught several times that you need to do this and that. So when he breaks a law that a parent set, then he will be punished, but 2 year old will not be punished. So similarly, animal is of lower consciousness, they do not get karma. Unki karma yoni nahi hoti, they only have bhog yoni, means they only enjoy, they don't get any karma. But we get the karma when we break the laws of the nature. So we are supposed to live very harmoniously in this world. So we have a great responsibility. And Prabhupada says this many times in many places, that as human life, we should not act like animals. So he starts off saying, our life is not meant for quarreling like cats and dogs. We have a certain dignity actually. Human life entails responsibility and dignity. And there is a specific purpose of human life. The purpose is self-realization, to get out of here. So that's just the point I wanted to highlight. Okay, let's keep reading. Who wants to read the next paragraph?
I can read, Mataji.
Yes.
That destination is called Sanatana sky, the eternal spiritual sky. Yad gatva na nivrantante tad dhama paramama. In this material world, we find that everything is temporary. It comes into being, stays for some time, produces some byproducts, dwindles, and then vanishes. That is the law of material world, whether we use as an example this body or a piece of fruit or anything. But beyond this temporary world, there is another world of which we have information. That world consists of another nature, such which is Sanatana, eternal. The Jiva is also described as Sanatana, eternal, and the Lord is also described as Sanatana in the 11th chapter. We have an intimate relationship with the Lord, and because we are all qualitatively one, the Sanatana Dhamma or sky the Sanatana Supreme Personality and the Sanatana living entities, the whole purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to revive our Sanatana occupation or Sanatana Dharma, which is the eternal occupation of the living entity. We are temporarily engaged in different activities, but all of these activities can be purified when we give up all these temporary activities and take up the activities which are prescribed by the Supreme Lord. That is called our pure life.
Very cool. Let me just summarize till here. We'll take up some important points. So Prabhupada says, so Bhagavad Gita clearly tells us that as humans, we have to purify our existence and elevate our consciousness and get out of this material world, right? That's a self-realization. So we have to go back to our original home, the spiritual sky, the eternal spiritual abode where we came from. So that's called Sanatan sky. Sanatan sky or spiritual abode, the eternal abode of the Lord where we came from. That's where we have to go. So everything here is temporary. And Prabhupada is describing the 6 transformation that matter undergoes. Now, this is also a very important concept that anything material, anything matter goes through these 6 changes or transformation. So Prabhupada says that think of your body. It takes birth, so it comes into being. यहाँ पर एक missing है. This is 5 mentioned. So this should be 6. It says takes birth, then it grows, then it stays for some time, then it produces some byproducts like we have kids, dwindles, and then vanishes. So it slowly starts decaying or dwindling and then finally vanishes. So this is the 6 changes that anything material like our body goes through. So everything here is temporary. Matter is always temporary. Matter is always asat, whereas the spiritual world is sat or eternal. Okay. So Prabhupada is describing the nature of Sat or Sanatan. Sanatan means eternal, which has no ant, which is always existing. So Prabhupada says that's our ultimate purpose to get there. And what is the meaning of this Sanatan Dharma? This is something we have to understand. This is the very important concept to understand here. So we understand the word Sanatan is eternal. The meaning of word dharma means occupation or purpose. So what is our eternal purpose or eternal occupation? What is the one thing that we always do? Okay, that we have an inherent nature to do. So dharma also means an inherent quality that one has. For example, it is said that the dharma of fire is heat. So it cannot be called fire if it's not heat, if it's not hot. Or let's say kheer hai. Kheer ka dharma of kheer will be that it will be sweet. If it's not sweet, it can't be kheer. So anything that is inherent, that is the ultimate quality, the most natural, very innate quality of a product, that's called dharma. Okay. So what is the dharma of a jiva, of a spirit soul? What is our dharma? So please listen carefully. Our dharma is who will tell me what is our dharma? What is the occupation of the living entity?
Is to always remember God, always remember Krishna, and service for Krishna.
Service, seva.
Jivera Suripe Krishna Nityadas.
Jivera Swarup hoy Krishnera Nityadas. So the original occupation, the eternal, the inherent occupation of Jiva is to serve. That's why you will see when even people that are not devotees or that are not spiritualists, even they want to serve something or the other, right? People are serving their spouse or they're serving their country or they're serving their pet dog, they are serving the society or the community. So somebody, somehow or the other, we want to serve someone. Why? Because we have the inherent quality to serve the Supreme Lord. And that just becomes forgotten here. When we come here, it gets lost, it gets forgotten. So it gets misdirected towards other things in this world. Whatever we see in this world, we start serving that and we forget that we are actually eternal servants of the Lord. So our dharma, like somebody will say, my dharma is to be a doctor, is to be a physician. Like that's my dharma. That's the dharma of your current body. In your current bodily designation, yes, you can you can serve your patients nicely, fine. But that's not your Sanatan Dharma, right? That's not your eternal Dharma. Because if in next body you come as something else, you become a lawyer or a teacher, then that Dharma is taken away. So that's not your Sanatan Dharma. Your inherent ability, inherent innate nature is to serve the Lord. Now, if we transfer that and Sanatan Dharma to our bodily Dharma also, to our, which is called conditional duty. Okay, conditional duty matlab that is only in this condition. In this condition, in this bodily condition, my duty is to serve my patients or to serve my spouse, let's say. So when we merge the two together, when we serve those people that we have around us, or our profession, our country, our community, as as our service to the Lord, when we merge our Sanatan Dharma with our conditional duties, then it is okay. But most people forget their Sanatan Dharma and only remember their conditional Dharma. So we have some conditional duties and we have eternal duty. We have to merge the two, okay? But the Sanatan Dharma is most important of those two. Sanatan Dharma, if we follow Sanatan Dharma, then conditional duties will automatically be upheld. So Sanatan Dharma means the eternal dharma, the eternal nature, eternal purpose of the jiva is to always engage in the service of the Lord. So Sanatan occupation or Sanatan Dharma is the eternal occupation of the living entity. So sometimes in this world, we hear this word Sanatan Dharma for Hindu religion. That is a misnomer. That is not a correct understanding. Every jeev has Sanatan Dharma. Whether or not externally, does not matter which religion they follow externally. So it is not sectarian. It is not based on whether they are Muslim or Christians or Jew or whatever religion they follow. Does not, external religion does not matter. Every jiva has eternal dharma, eternal occupation to serve the Lord. So this baseline concept we have to understand. This is the eternal function of jivas. This has nothing to do with our external faith or external religiosity. So then, what is this confusion? Can I, since this is an important point, I'm just spending some more time on it. So what is this confusion between this external religion and internal Sanatan Dharma? Why is there so much confusion between the religion and the Dharma? What is the difference? Sometimes religion word is used as Dharma. So can somebody clarify, what does religion mean to you? Religion क्या होता है?
Hare Krishna Mataji. I think religion is like set practices that culture like follows, and usually it is linked to God, and they're like set rituals, set customs by which society is supposed to function for that religion. Like the standards that.
Yes,
that
yes, 100%, yes. So the certain practices, culture, or process, you can say, that that particular community follows to achieve their eternal dharma, eternal occupation. Ultimately, all of them want to connect with God. Ultimately, all of them want to serve the Lord. All of them want to engage in service of the Lord and achieve love of God. But the process that they follow externally, the set practices, certain rituals, certain traditions that they follow, the way in which they exercise their faith may differ for different communities or different groups of people. So according to time, place, and circumstances, different groups of people may have been given certain different rituals or traditions to follow, but all those traditions are ultimately meant to connect them to their eternal occupation, meant to take them to serve eternal service of the Lord and eternal love of Godhead. So those sets of rituals, rules can differ. Somebody may pay obeisances to the Lord by kneeling down. Some may offer their respects by raising their hands. Some may offer by folding their hands. Some may offer by putting their head down on the pew. So like that, those rituals and rules can vary. In certain traditions, let's say, they follow even meat eating by, they eat halal meat, let's say, by following certain, say certain mantras or something to the animal to purify, in such a way that they eat meat even in a very controlled fashion. So different standards are given to different people according to their time, place, and circumstances based on what was good for their purification at that time, right? So whatever will help them to take them to the next level of their consciousness. So those standards are given to different people. But ultimately, every religion, whatever set of practices people follow, is meant to take them to Sanatan Dharma, to re-establish their relationship with their Supreme Father. So eternal occupation, Sanatan Dharma does not change. That is the internal occupation, internal function, internal purpose of every jiva. It stays the same. Only the externals in which we express that faith, that how we reach that eternal occupation may change, may vary for different people. So you see that there is really no reason to fight. There is really no reason to argue. Why nobody needs to say that my set of practices, is the best or anything. Everybody has been given different sets of practices, different rules and regulations to follow based on their level of consciousness. So I just want you to understand this meaning of Sanatan Dharma versus the religion, the word religion that we commonly use. And sometimes we confuse Sanatan Dharma with Hinduism, and sometimes we confuse the word religion with Dharma. But we should understand what Dharma means, both internal and external Dharma. Internal Dharma is the service to Lord, which is the function of a spirit soul, every jiva. External Dharma is just in this body, my conditional duties, and I should align both internals and externals together in such a way that they go, that they don't collide, they don't obstruct each other. What people end up doing is they conduct their conditional duties in such a way that they're not able to serve the Supreme Lord. They perform their conditional duties just for their self sense gratification, या फिर पैसे कमाने के लिए, for name, fame, followers. So that is not really service to the Lord. So if you do your conditional duties in such a way that it also becomes your Sanatan Dharma, it serves the Lord also, then both of them are, favorable for each other. So we have to understand, conditional existence has to be favorable for Sanatan Dharma. Okay, let's read further. Keep reading more. Who wants to read next paragraph?
Yes, I can read.
Yes.
Haribol. The Supreme Lord and his transcendental abode are both Sanatan, as are the living entities, and the combined association of the Supreme Lord and the living entities in the Sanatan abode, in the perfection of human life. The Lord is very kind to the living entities because they are his sons. Lord Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Yonishu Aham Bijo Pradha Pita. I am the father of all. Of course, there are all the types of living entities according to their various karmas, but here the Lord claims that he is the father of all of them. Therefore, the Lord descends to the living entity, to the reclaim all these fallen conditioned souls, to call them back to the Sanatan eternal sky, so that Sanatan living entities may regain their eternal Sanatan positions in eternal association with the Lord. The Lord comes himself in different incarnations, or he sends his confidential servants as sons of his this has come, yes, of his associates or acharyas to reclaim the conditioned souls.
Okay, let's wait just a minute.
Yes.
So here, Prabhupada is saying that Krishna is the Supreme Father. He says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Bij Prada Pita, that I'm the father of all living entities. And he wants to take us back to his spiritual abode, to the original home, because we are separated from him and we have forgotten our relationship with him. So he comes, he incarnates, he appears in this material world to attract us back to him. So he appears in different forms, different expansions, he performs different pastimes, different activities here, so that the fallen souls, fallen jivas, will be attracted again to him and to reclaim them. Sometimes he does it himself by coming, or sometimes he will send his servants. Like especially here, Prabhupada mentions sons of Lord. Sons means, like, for example, Christ is often called son of the Lord, son of the God. So he may send his servants, his associates, his sons, his as teachers, as acharyas, as messiahs, right? All these various personalities come every now and then to reclaim the conditioned souls. So Prabhupada is saying Krishna is so merciful that even though we have left the Father has not forgotten about us. He's still waiting. And if you read Bhagavad Gita, you will see that Krishna keeps calling calling us back to him. So in many verses, Krishna says that come back to me, and I will and you will never leave this place again, because that place is not meant for you. So here we are suffering and we don't even realize we are suffering. It's like we are fish out of water, struggling very hard in this material existence, very hard struggle for existence going on, and we are just content in struggling. But our Father cannot see that struggle. He wants us to come back to our eternal original position of eternal bliss, joy, complete knowledge, complete anand, complete love, absolute truth. And we are in darkness, ignorance, in illusion. So he comes to claim us back. Let's keep reading more. Anyone wants to read the next? Let's read next 2 paragraphs. Who wants to read? Namita Mataji, you want to go again?
Sure, Mataji. Therefore, Sanatana Dharma does not refer to any sectarian process of religion. In the eternal function of the eternal living entities in relationship with the eternal Supreme Lord, Sanatana Dharma refers, as stated previously, to the eternal occupation of the living entity. Sripada Ramarjuna has explained the word Sanatan as that has neither beginning nor end. So when we speak of Sanatan Dharma, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sripada Ramanujan Acharya that it has neither beginning nor end. Do you want me to keep going, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
The English word religion is little different from Sanatana Dharma. Religion conveys the idea of faith, and faith may change. One may have faith in a particular process, and he may change this faith and adopt another. But Sanatana Dharma refers to that activity which cannot be changed. For instance, liquidity cannot be taken from water, nor can heat be taken from the fire. Similarly, the eternal function of the eternal living entity cannot be taken from the living entity. Sanatana Dharma is eternally integral with the living entity. When we speak of Sanatana Dharma, therefore, we must take it for granted on the authority of Sripada Ramanujacharya that it has neither beginning nor end. That which has neither end nor beginning must not be sectarian, or it cannot be limited by any boundaries. Those belonging to some sectarian faith will wrongly consider that Sanatana Dharma is also sectarian. But if we go deeply into the matter and consider it in the light of modern science, it is possible for us to see that Sanatana Dharma is the business of all people of the world, nay, of all the living entities of the universe.
So I think we already discussed this actually, but Prabhupada is quoting Sripad Ramanujacharya very much here. So Ramanujacharya is the main acharya of Sri Sampradaya. So there are 4 main Vaishnava Sampradayas, and we belong to the Sampradaya of so ISKCON, or Gaudiya tradition, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes, is in the tradition of which acharya? Who will tell me the main head of our Sampradaya? What is the name of our Sampradaya?
Gaudiya Sampradaya.
What is the full name?
Ramana Gauriya Madhava Sampradaya.
So
Brahma Madhav Gauriya Sampradaya, sorry.
yeah, so you have to say it correctly. Brahma Madhva, not Madhav, Madhva, because it's Madhvacharya. Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. So remember the disciplic succession? Krishna gave knowledge to Brahmaji. So after Brahmaji, Narad Muni to Vyasadev, Vyasadev to, then different acharyas are there. So we are in the line of Madhvacharya. So Brahma, Madhva, and then after many acharyas, then comes our Gauranga, so God. So Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. So we are in the Madhvacharya Sampradaya. So the main head, we can say Brahmaji or Madhvacharya. But here Prabhupada is quoting the head of Sri Sampradaya, which is Ramanujacharya. So Ramanujacharya, this Sampradaya comes down from Lakshmi ji. So Krishna not only gives knowledge to Brahma ji, but also to Rudra, which is Shivji, to Lakshmi ji. And so there are Rudra Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, like that there is Nimbarkacharya Sampradaya, Nimbarka Sampradaya. Like that there are 4 Sampradayas. I'm not going into the details of each acharyas, but basically I'm just mentioning that Prabhupada is quoting another authority, and you will see in Bhagavad Gita and in other books also in Bhagavatam, Prabhupada keeps quoting different acharyas, and in Bhagavatam also you see that in that different acharyas keep quoting each other. Like for example, Sut Goswami quotes Shukdev Goswami, right? Shukdev Goswami quotes Narad Muni. Narad Muni will discuss a conversation going on between Krishna and Uddhav ji, or Uddhav ji will quote somebody else. Like that, they will each be quoting another acharya in the same tradition. So in this way, we are always quoting different acharyas. We never make up the knowledge. The knowledge always comes down the dhara, down the stream from Krishna. So this is Ramanujacharya is a great Vaishnavacharya who has given this, who has explained this word Sanatan that we discussed today. So now, whenever you hear this word Sanatan Dharma, don't just confuse it with Hinduism. Understand that this is the occupation, Prabhupada says, of all the living entities. So he says, this is the business of all the people of the world. Nay, not just people, but actually all living entities of this universe have this business. And this is an integral part of the living entity. It cannot be separated from them. So जैसे कि हम fire से उसकी heat को separate नहीं कर सकते, otherwise it won't be called fire. Fire से उसकी light को separate नहीं कर सकते, it won't be called fire, right? If you take heat and light away from it. Water से उसकी liquidity separate नहीं कर सकते, it will not be called water anymore if it's not liquid. Then you will call it ice or something, or vapors or something else. But it will not be water unless it's liquid. So it's the main consistency, it's the main integral, innate, inherent part of the jiva that cannot be separated from it. Bodily identification can go away, but this innate tendency cannot go away. So it's not sectarian. Let's keep reading further. Who wants to read next paragraph?
I can read, Mataji.
Yes.
Non-Sanatana religious faith may have some beginning in the annals of human history, but there is no beginning to the history of Sanatana Dharma because it remains eternally with the living entities. Insofar as the living entities are concerned, the authoritative Shastras state that the living entity has neither birth nor death. In the Gita, it is stated that the living entity is never born and he never dies. He is eternal and indestructible, and he continues to live after the destruction of this temporary material body. In reference to the concept of Sanatana Dharma, we must try to understand the concept of religion from the Sanskrit root meaning of the word. Dharma refers to that which is constantly existing with a particular object. We conclude that there is heat and light along with fire. Without heat and light, there is no meaning of the word fire. Similarly, we must discover the essential part of the living being, that part which is his constant companion. That constant companion is his eternal quality, and that eternal quality is his eternal religion.
Okay, so I think this part we understand. Okay, let's keep reading. Mataji, you want to keep reading more?
When Sanatan Goswami asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the Swarupa of every living being, the Lord replied that the Swarupa or constitutional position of the living being is the rendering of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we analyze the statement of Lord Chaitanya's, we can easily see that every living being is constantly engaged in rendering service to another living being. A living being serves other living beings in various capacities. By doing so, the living entity enjoys life. The lower animals serve human beings as servants serve their master. A serves B, master, and B serves C master, and C serves D master, and so on. Under these circumstances, we can see that one friend serves another friend, the mother serves the son, the wife serves the husband serves the wife, and so on. If we go on searching in this spirit, it will be seen that there is no exception in the society of living beings to the activity of service. The politicians present his manifesto for the public to convince them of his capacity for service. The voters therefore give the politician their valuable votes, thinking that he will render valuable service to society. The shopkeeper serves the customer, the artisan serves the capitalist serves the family, and the family serves the state in terms of the eternal capacity of the eternal living being. In this way, we can see that no living being is exempt from rendering service to other living beings. Therefore, we can safely conclude that service is the constant companion of living beings, and that the rendering of service is the eternal religion of the living being.
Okay, so this also we discussed Jivera Swarupoy Krishnera Nityadas. So this is our constitutional position. So there are two words that often come, constitutional and conditional. Conditional word I already mentioned before. Conditional means anything related to this particular condition, meaning this body. So that's why we say conditional duties, uh, conditional role. So right now our conditional duty is to, let's say, whatever, you are a mother, you are a teacher, you are a father, your husband, your brother, you're a citizen of a particular country, you are a member of a particular society, you're a member of a household. That's your condition. Those are all your conditional designations, your bodily designations. Conditional duties, conditional positions are bodily positions, bodily designations. The other word is opposite to conditional. Conditional means anything material. The other opposite word is constitutional. Constitutional is anything that's spiritual. That's your the jiva, the spirit soul. So we are concerned with the position of the jiva, the spiritual spirit spark within the body. So what is the swarup of that jiva? That is to serve. And what happens in this body also, we are always looking for service, but we just misdirect that service to all these other things. You can see that Prabhupada is proving through so many examples that everybody is looking for service. And this is what we have fulfilled mostly, even people that are not God conscious, not Krishna conscious, not devotees, not spiritualists, who have no understanding of their relationship with the Lord, even they feel fulfilled and satisfied only in service to others. They may not believe the God, but they believe in service to people. इसलिए ऐसा बोलते हैं ना कि मानव सेवा ही माधव सेवा है. So Prabhupada often condemns this saying, actually, Manav Seva hi Madhav Seva hai, because that's not something to discuss now, but only Manav Seva is not Madhav Seva. But people feel fulfilled in Manav Seva. People feel very satisfied. It meets their purpose somewhere innately inside, internally. It really fulfills them. It completes them. And people are looking for that type of meaning or purpose in their life where they can serve others. So you can see politicians, philanthropists, charitable workers, even anyone, shopkeepers, even a voter thinks that he's doing service by voting because he's getting a responsible politician to come to power. So it is our service to the country that we should all vote. We are always taught this, right? That we should always vote. It is our responsibility and service to the country to vote. So we are all looking for service in one way or the other. Capitalists, communists, they're all looking to serve. Prabhupada's given so many examples. So this proves to you, Prabhupada says, we can safely conclude that service is the eternal nature. It is the constant companion of the living being, whether we remember our relationship with the Lord or not. But where is this coming from? This inherent position, this nature, because we had this nature to serve the Lord. We were serving the Lord in spiritual world. We were always a servant of the Lord. But when we come here, we forget that relationship, yet we look for other type of relationships to start serving. Okay, so let's keep reading more. Who wants to read next? Nagarjun?
I can read. Yes. Yet, man professes to belong to a particular type of faith with reference to particular time and circumstance, and thus claims to be a Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, or an adherent of any other sect. Such designations are non-Sanatan Dharma. A Hindu may change his faith to become a Muslim, or a Muslim may change his faith to become a Hindu, or a Christian may change his faith, and so on. But in all circumstances, the change of religious faith, does not affect the eternal occupation of rendering service unto others. The Hindu, Muslim, or Christian, in all circumstances, is a servant of someone. Thus, to profess a particular type of faith is not to profess one's Sanatan Dharma. The rendering of service is Sanatan Dharma.
You can keep reading more.
Factually, we are related to the Supreme Lord in service. The Supreme Lord is the supreme enjoyer, and we, living entities, are his servitors. We are created for his enjoyment, and if we participate in that eternal enjoyment with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we become happy. We cannot become happy otherwise. It is not possible to be happy independently, just as no part of the body can be happy without cooperating with the stomach. It is not possible for a living entity to be happy without rendering transcendental service, loving service unto the Supreme Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, worship of different demigods or rendering
Let's pause
service.
here, Nagarjuna Prabhu, 1 second. Just really, really important concept mentioned here by Prabhupada. So one thing is inherent nature of the jiva is to serve the Lord. It is service. I want to I want you to remember 2 points. One point from today is that our dharma is to serve. Okay, so I think that point is clear. Other thing I want everyone to remember is also our tendency is to enjoy. Anandamayo bhyasat, it is said. For a jiva, it is said that they're always looking for happiness, for enjoyment or pleasure. So another thing we have to learn. Another concept to learn, that we are always looking for enjoyment. Jiva always wants to be happy. Jiva wants to enjoy. Jiva wants pleasure. Okay. So Prabhupada is saying Krishna is the source of all pleasure. He's the reservoir of all bliss. He's the reservoir of all happiness and enjoyment. So you cannot become happy away from Krishna. If he's the ocean of all the happiness and you go away from the ocean, then you will be in a desert. So that's why we are in a desert. We are suffering because we are not close to the reservoir of the enjoyment or pleasure. So when we engage in service of the Lord, so when you combine those two tendencies, when you engage in service of the Lord, you can drink that nectar of enjoyment from the ocean directly. So that's why service to the Lord brings the real happiness. Otherwise, there cannot be happiness away without service to the Lord. That's why I was saying before ki Manav Seva, Madhav Seva kyun nahi hai? Because if there is no Madhav Seva, if Manav Seva is also done with some sort of ulterior motive or some sort of personal aggrandizement, some personal fruitive benefits or rewarding results and things, then there is no Madhav Seva. And without Madhav Seva, even Manav Seva will also not give you any happiness or enjoyment or pleasure, because the Krishna Madhav is the source of all happiness. So you have to combine your Manav Seva with Madhav Seva. You have to combine your conditional duties with constitutional duty. Your eternal religion, occupation has to be practiced in order to feel really happy, fulfilled, and satisfied. So Prabhupada is saying he's giving an analogy, a part of the body, like let's say I cut off my hand and put it on the side. It cannot be nourished. It will shrivel and die. It will become degraded and degenerated over time and die. It will decay. It will start smelling bad. Similarly, we are part and parcel of Krishna. If we separate ourselves from the main thing that gives us happiness, the main thing that gives us nourishment, our nourishment is happiness. We want happiness. And if we separate ourselves from that main nourishment, then we will also decay, will also go bad and not be able to feel the happiness, the real pleasure that a jiva wants. So the hand has to stay connected to the main body to get the nourishment, to feel the power, to be able to do any work. On its own, it cannot do any work. It is useless. It will degrade and degenerate. So understand that only in connection with Krishna, only in connection with the Supreme Lord, who is the reservoir of all pleasure, one can feel the real bliss, the real enjoyment. And that's why rendering service to the Lord brings the real pleasure. So very important concept to understand. Okay, yes, Nagashan, do you want to keep reading more?
Yes. In the Bhagavad Gita, worship of different demigods or rendering service to them is not approved. It is stated in the 7th chapter, 12th verse, 7.12.
20.
Kamestais, oh, 20th
7.20.
verse, 7.20. Kamestairhrita jnana prapadyante devata tam niyamam asthaya prakritya niyata svaya. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulation of worship according to their own natures. Here it is plainly said that those who are directed by lust worship the demigods and not the Supreme Lord Krishna. When we mention the name Krishna, we do not refer to any sectarian name. Krishna means the highest pleasure, and it is confirmed that the Supreme Lord is the reservoir of storehouse of all pleasure. We are all hankering after pleasure. Anand Mayobhyasat, Vedanta Sutra 1.1.12. The living entities, like the Lord, are full of consciousness and they are after happiness. The Lord is perpetually happy, and if the living entities, associate with Lord, cooperate with Him, and take part in His association, then they also become happy. Actually, I wanted to mention that initially when we were talking about dharma, I was also thinking that it can also be said that we are Satchit Anand. That's also dharma of the soul. Is that it is Satchit Anand, and here we are talking about the Anand. The reason we are always hankering for happiness is because that is the nature of the soul, is to be Anandmayo Bhyasat. Uh, so that is the reason we are in this material world. We are still hankering for that happiness.
Right. Yeah, so you can say Satchidanand is like the constitution of that's what we are made of. We are made of Anand. So that's the constitution, and purpose is dharma. So if you had to like really get into the nitty-gritties, then dharma is like the purpose, function, uh, action, occupation of the soul. And what are we made of? We are made of Satchitanand, Roop. That's our Roop, that's our form. So Anand is what we are seeking. Out of Satchitanand, Anand is most important to the Jiva. So whatever, and the source of Anand is Krishna. So we have to connect ourselves to Krishna, like a body part needs to stay connected to the rest of the body to get nourishment. Similarly, for us to get Anand, we have to connect ourselves to the source of Anand, which is Krishna. I just want to read 2 more paragraphs, then we will stop. Okay, can anyone read this?
I can read.
Yes.
The Lord descends to this mortal world to show his pastimes in Vrindavan, which are full of happiness. When Lord Sri Krishna was in Vrindavan, his activities with his coward boyfriends, with his damsel friends, with the other inhabitants of Vrindavan, and the cows were all full of happiness. The total population of Vrindavan knew nothing but Krishna. But Lord Krishna even discouraged his father Nanda from worshipping the demigod Indra, because he wanted to establish the fact that people need not worship any demigod. They need only worship the Supreme Lord, because their ultimate goal is to return to his abode.
Maybe just pause for a second and you could continue after that. I just forgot to mention that Nagarjuna Prabhu read about this verse 7.20, where Bhagavad Gita does not really encourage the worship of different demigods. So one time somebody asked me, what is the difference between bhakti of Devi Devta and of Supreme Lord? So really bhakti of, there is no such word really as bhakti of demigods, because bhakti it is selfless service. It's unmotivated service which is rendered only to Supreme Lord. Demigods are not really rendered selfless service, because people go to demigods for certain material benefits. They go to demigods for certain fulfilling certain wishes typically. So the word bhakti is not very much used with different demigods. And Bhagavad Gita does not condone, does not encourage this worship of demigods, because demigods are also materially powerful jivas. They are servants of the Lord, but they're still in this material world. And if we engage in their worship, we still stay in material world and not really engage in the service of the Lord. Not really, we just fulfill our desires, but we still stay entangled in this material world. So really does not serve the main purpose of the jiva, which is to serve the Supreme Lord. So you can fulfill your desires through many means, and one of the means is demigod worship. Demigod worship is one of the very powerful ways by which people fulfill their desires, their for getting better arrangements in this world. But they just keep making their arrangements in this material world better. They don't look for arrangement to get out of here. And Bhagavad Gita's main goal is to get us out of here. So demigod worship does not serve that purpose of getting us out of here. That's why this is not really encouraged. That's what Prabhupada is saying. And then Prabhupada is saying that Lord comes to this material world and engages in so many pastimes. So two concepts to understand. One, that Bhagavad Gita is not really encouraging demigod worship because it keeps us here. Secondly, the Lord comes. Why does the Lord come? This is a very big topic. Why, we celebrate so many festivals like Janmashtami, the day that Lord comes in his original form as Krishna. Or we celebrate Ram Navami when Lord Ram comes, Gaur Purnima when Gauranga comes. In this way, different days, Narsingh Chaturdashi when Lord Narsimha comes. So Lord comes in so many forms, so many expansions, so many pastimes he exhibits. Why does he do that? And that makes for a very important concept in Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna says that you really need to understand that when I come here for your own good, out of my causeless mercy. And I've come here to attract all the jivas back to me. So he gives us so many activities, so many names, so many forms that we relish through our life, right? So many qualities that we read about, so many activities that we read about. We read about his activities in Vrindavan. So he shows so many forms, then we can keep ourselves immersed in those name, form, qualities, pastimes, and purify our existence, purify our consciousness. That's why he comes here. He does not need to come here. He lives in Golok and he can just live there. He can just stay there. He does not have to come to this world of miseries, but he comes here to attract us again to him, to reawaken our lost love for him. So that's why his appearance is very, very special. And that's why we celebrate those appearances with festivals. And we should never think that if he's coming here and performing activities, he's just like any other ordinary person. He's not an ordinary person if he comes here. It's a supreme personality, the creator, the original maintainer, the supreme enjoyer, the supreme father, the cause of all causes that has come here. So he comes here just for our benefit, and we should really be thankful for that and try to celebrate those days. Okay, let's read one more paragraph. Nave, you can read till this abode. Please keep reading.
The abode of Lord Sri Krishna is described in the Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, 6th verse. Natad bhasite suryo nasasanko napavaka yad gatvana nivartante tagdhama paramam mama. That supreme abode of mine is not illuminated by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. This verse gives a description of that eternal sky. Of course, we have a material conception of sky, and we think of it in relationship to the moon, stars, and so on. But in this verse, the Lord states that in the eternal sky, there is no need for the sun, nor the moon, nor electricity, or fire, or any kind, because the spiritual sky is already illuminated by Brahma Jyotir, the rays emanating from the Supreme Lord. We are trying with difficulty to reach other planets, but it is not difficult to understand the abode of the Supreme Lord. This abode is referred to as Goloka. In the Brahma Samhita 5.37, it is beautifully described. Goloka evan nishvanti akirmata bhuta. The Lord resides eternally in his abode Goloka. Yet he can be approached from this world. And the Lord comes to manifest his real form, Satchidanand Vigraha. When he manifests this form, there is no need for our imagining what he looks like. To discourage such imaginative speculation, he descends and exhibits himself as he is, as Shamsundar. Unfortunately, the less intelligent deride him, because he comes as one of us and plays with us as a human being. But because of this, we should not consider the Lord one of us. It is by his omnipotency that he presents himself in his real form before us and displays his pastimes, which are replicas of those pastimes found in his abode.
So, okay. So, Prabhupada is saying that Krishna's eternal abode is described in detail, actually. Brahma Samhita describes, Bhagavad Gita also Krishna mentions, especially in chapter 15, he gives this verse that my abode is illuminated by my own effulgence, my own Brahma Jyoti. So, Krishna is the center of existence in the spiritual world. And everything is lights up by the light emanating from his body, which is more than millions and thousands of suns shining together. So there is no need for any sun, moon, or celestial bodies or fire there. Of course, those things still exist there, but they are not needed for the purpose of lighting up. Here in this material world, we are dependent on fire, we are dependent on electricity, on sun, moon, etc. For various functions, various purposes. Sun has so many functions for us. But in spiritual world, everything is dependent only on Supreme Lord, and all these other things just participate in service of the Lord, but they're not needed for any function as such, other than just serving the Lord. So Krishna's abode is described in detail. We will go through those. But demigod worship, again, Prabhupada says that Lord Krishna even discouraged his father Nand Maharaj to worship Indra. You know that famous pastime of Govardhan Leela, because he wanted to establish that demigod worship will not take people to his abode. It will take people to their abode. Their abodes are in the material world. So someone may go to Indralok or to the planet of Brahmaji, or to the planet of where fire god is, where other different gods are, sun god is, moon god is. But we don't want to go there because they're still in this material world. We want to get liberated and freed from this material world. We don't want to keep circulating here in different planets. And Prabhupada will go into all that about different planets in further paragraphs. And then Prabhupada says that we don't need to imagine the form of the Lord. Lord comes in his own form, so you can see what he looks like. So all these different deities that you see in different temples, like I was describing the deity of Govindaji, and I just remembered who said that about Govind Dev Ji, that if you look at Govind Dev, you will not be able to look at anything else, nothing else. Say bye-bye to your material life. Actually, that was said by Rup Goswami. Rup Goswami made a very nice verse about Govindaji deity. That if you look at Govinda Dev Ji once, behold the face of Govinda Dev Ji once, all your material life will be vanquished. So don't look at his face. If you want to continue in this material life, if you're having too much fun in this material world, then don't look at his face, because material life will be destroyed, will be gone, will be vanquished. If you look at his face, you will have no taste for anything else in this world. So we see his presence through different deities, and these deities, they are not imaginative speculation. It's not like somebody has concocted, made up these forms. These are the visions, the darshans, that acharyas have had of Krishna, his original Shyam Sundar form. That's why when Prabhupada's disciples used to make those paintings, Prabhupada would tell them, Krishna does not look like this. You have made Krishna too old. How can you make his hair white? He's always youthful. He's always just 16-year-old. You have made him too old. Or why have you made his muscles so prominent? He's not big and bulky like a hunky steroid infested people these days. He's actually very gentle, sukumar body. He very tender, slim, slender body. He's not like these muscle men of today. So he would give these instructions based on his darshans of the Supreme Lord. So we have the darshan of Supreme Lord through our acharyas. Nobody needs to use imaginative process, Prabhupada is saying, because Krishna comes in his original form. Mother Uttara actually gave all the descriptions of Krishna to Krishna's grandson, great grandson. And based on that description, all the deities were made. So all the if you go to Vrindavan, all the deities like Gopinath deity, Govindaji deity, and Madan Mohan, they are all descriptions given by Mother Uttara. And remember that Krishna entered into the womb of Mother Uttara. So Mother Uttara offered so many prayers to Krishna. So she had direct darshan of Krishna. And she gave those descriptions, and based on those descriptions, these deities came up, And it is said that Radharaman deity actually has the characteristics of all three aspects of the Lord: the face, the mid body, and the lower body. All completely resembles Krishna. So you can get the darshan of Radharaman and understand how none of this is imaginative. This is the real forms of the Lord. So when we are in front of deities, we should know that the Lord is present there in this Vigraha Roop. But he also comes in on this material world to purify us, to give us instructions in form of Bhagavad Gita, and take us back to Godhead. I'll stop here. Let's take some questions, some realizations, any understanding that anybody wants to share.
Mataji, I can go first. I really loved how you differentiated between the Madhav and Manav Seva, sorry. And the two important things which I think I got out of this session is like our dharma is to serve. And the second thing, like how we all wanna how Jiva want to just our propensity just to enjoy. And we forget that Krishna is the reservoir of all our happiness. So ultimately is to serve Madhav to be able to do anything. So I think that's the two most key important points I got out of it. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Mother, you got the two best points. Those that was the crux of the whole matter. We have forgotten our relationship with the Lord. That's why we don't serve him anymore. So we have forgotten our real dharma, our Sanatan dharma. Secondly, we have forgotten that Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure and enjoyment. That's why we are looking for pleasure and enjoyment in this world. But actually everything is there in Madhav Seva, in Krishna's service. And we can do Manav Seva, our conditional duties also much better if we engage in service to we feel more happy, more satisfied, and be able to be empowered to do our duties better also.
Right. So I think those were the two my key points. I got it.
Very bold. Very nice. Yes. Anybody else wants to share anything?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, go ahead, Mataji.
I think I like 2 points that clarified, that the concept that you explained that, animals kill and eat animals but they don't have karma. So we can't justify that, and then second is that everybody's happy doing some kind of service, which is very true. Like we justify, like, I'm taking care of my mother, so I'm doing my duty, I'm a good person, and we justify that and we just kind of sit with that and don't want to go beyond that, because we are satisfied that I'm a good son or a good child, so that I think that kind of makes this boundary that we don't want to even break and go beyond, which I see a lot, which I understood the concept that yes, it comes from that unique quality that we have of service. That's why we feel good about it, because that person is feeling good, and we how he has a point or she has a point, but it's just it's still not the ultimate step, so that helps to
And
understand.
Mataji, that what happens with that is it's just karma in that case. If you don't do it as a service to the Lord, you still get reaction. So okay, you did this good action of serving your mom. So next life your child will serve you. So you still got a reaction and you will have to come back to be served, right? Because you served someone. But unless that service is combined with service to the Lord, it does not become a karma. It does not free you from the reaction. So that point also, so even if we are really looking for for our self, you can say benefit कि मुझे इसमें फायदा क्या है भगवान की सेवा करने में. So फायदा is that you need to not get any reaction. So by just doing conditional duties as a good moral ethical person, people are still getting entangled in pious activities. So we still have to get those pious reactions back, and we have to take birth to enjoy those pious reactions, right? So okay, आपने बहुत सेवा की, अब आपको higher planets मिलेंगे because आपने अपने माता पिता की सेवा की, या बीमार लोगों की सेवा की, या लोगों को कंबल दिए, भूखे लोगों को खाना खिलाया. You did all these pious things, manav seva, you did all this, but you did it without thinking yourself as a servant to the Lord. You did not do it as a service to supreme enjoyer. So you will get the reaction still, and you will have to come back now to be served by someone. So
Mataji, I had a question on that point. For example, if someone knows that there is God and they want to serve God, but there's, for example, their job might be such, for example, like a butcher, like his job is to kill that animal, right? But he might be a God, believing in God kind of person. So how does that person like combine these dharmas, like, or like how does he go along with these two?
So Mataji, he will have to, if he is really a God conscious person, and remember that our actions are in our hands. Unless we are a slave of someone, someone is forcing us to kill animals, it is ideally recommended to change those actions. So if we are really God conscious, then we have to, that's the whole point of reading Bhagavad Gita, we have to change our actions in such a way that we have to reconcile our actions with the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So we cannot continue in the same job and justify that, okay, I'm God conscious, but I'm okay killing animals. Now, if you are somehow forced in that occupation, like butcher, slaughterhouse is very, very ugra karma. But there are certain others, more subtle. I'll give you more subtle examples, like in our job. Let's take our job. We think we are doing a lot of good service, right? We are serving patients, but we are also killing animals in so many ways. Like I prescribe sometimes fish oil to people, right? Or I am recommending insulin, which may be made of porcine or bovine insulin is made from cows and pigs. So in this way, so many cancer drugs, so many drugs that we prescribe, they are first of all experimented on animals. So many animals go through a lot of pain so that we can help people. So I'm talking about more subtle things. I'm not talking about slaughterhouse and butchers. I think is a very completely ugra. Ours is more subtle, so I'll just mention those. So that's why we have to chant and pray, and we have to really try to get out of this material world, because in this material world, one way or the other, we will be engaged in ugra karma. We are using leather products. Like we have so much furniture here that is leather, or leather belts or purses and shoes and whatnot, right? Leather strap on the watch, so many things. So many ways we are harming Lord's creation, Lord's children, and we cannot justify our existence in this material world. So that's why Bhagavad Gita implores us over and over again to get out of this material world, because one way or the other, even if you are doing a very charitable work, like ours is a very considered a very noble profession, you're still engaged in on some level in some ugra karma. Even just walking, breathing, people are damaging so many insects and breathing millions of microorganisms and whatnot. So we cannot, our existence alone is causing so much damage to other jivas, that we have to just purify our existence. And the main way to purify our existence in this Kali Yuga is by chanting of the holy names. So if somebody is really stuck in such a job where they have to harm animals, or where they have to cause ugra karma, they have to even more sincerely engage in the service, in selfless service of the Lord, eating whatever way they can purify their existence, eating prasadam, making prasadam, Vaishnav seva, Nam jap. But three things Mahaprabhu has given us, three main core principles of Vaishnav life. One is Nam bhajan, second is Vaishnav seva, and third is Jeev daya. So Jeev daya is actually a core principle of our Vaishnav conduct. So Jeev daya we cannot ignore. And so on other levels, then we have to purify if somehow we are not able to show mercy to the jivas of this world. But as much as possible, we should try to avoid the obvious ugra karma like meat eating and animal slaughter. We have to avoid, and then subtle things we can pray about, but very obvious gross things we should definitely avoid. So that's my understanding, Mataji. Yes, Nagarjun Prabhu, you want to share? I don't know if he's available.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mataji, for that question. And actually, our scriptures are so wonderful that they give direct answers to all our, real innate questions. So pretty much the same situation was there with Mrigari. So that Mrigari situation is exactly kind of what you described, that he is a hunter by occupation. And when Narad Muni comes, he says the same thing, that how can I eat, I do this for filling my belly and the belly of my family. This is the only thing I know. For generations my family has been doing this, so this is all I know how to do. So how will I sustain myself? So it's a detailed description.
I'll send the story. We did a class one time on the story of
Yeah, but,
Mrigari.
but read that. It is, or hear that class. That's a very nice class. It's a funny class actually. Uh,
It comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mother. It doesn't come in Srimad Bhagavatam. It comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, this story. It's a very funny story, very funny because it's very, you should hear it. It's very funny. You can have the kids hear it too. Kids would love it. Yes, Nagarjun Prabhu, sorry.
no, that's it. Just wanted to share that. How he gets freed from this dilemma. The same question. It is very instructional for us.
One of the points about Mrigari's story was difference was this, that Mrigari used to enjoy killing and he would kill them only half. He would half kill the animal so that they would be suffering in pain. And Narad Muni came across these half suffering animals. And he said that my first request is to at least kill them completely. Do you remember that we talked about what is the next level, next standard for that person? You don't give them the highest standard, you give a person the next thing that they can do. So he said, okay, at least don't kill them half, kill them completely so they're not suffering. But that's how he had learned the art from his father, that they, in their tradition, they used to kill them half. So he at least agreed that, okay, I'll kill them completely. And then Narad Muni started testing the boundaries more and more. You will hear the class, but he said, okay, finally he convinced him to just completely quit this practice. He said, nahi karo ye kaam. Don't do this. Don't do this job anymore. And Krishna will provide all the food and everything for your family. Don't worry about it, but don't do this ugra karma. It's very, very malicious act. So yeah, if it's very obvious, we should stop. If it's subtle things that we are very unavoidable things, because the world has become such that animal harm has become unavoidable almost. So those things we have to really chant and pray about. So that's why just being good enough is not enough. Just being good or moral or ethical is not enough anymore in this world. We can't just be good and pious and ethical and engage in manav seva. We have to pray. We have to sincerely try to make efforts to get out of here, because we are getting entangled here more and more without knowing. Getting entangled in so many ways we don't even understand. So
I will mention one more thing. That maybe not in the spirit of this class, but it was just that something I was hearing this morning. Um, and this question was asked by His Grace Radhisham Prabhu to His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, that nowadays the society is getting more. There is this new concept that people want to do good. So but there's no concept of God in it. Like people just in general, they want to live harmoniously, and they want to do good to others. Basically, like manav seva, right? So people want to do good, like philanthropists, and in general, people are getting more cohesive in terms of living as a society and living nicely with each other and doing service for others and like hospitals or just helping people out or
Yes. So philanthropy work, right? Yes.
philanthropy work.
Mhm.
And so how should we take this? But they take God out of it, out of context. So this question was asked, and I thought it was a very valid question in today's circumstances. And the answer was actually I can share that clip if people want. But the answer was basically His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj said, well, first of all, we should be happy that people are getting to this level at least. So
Yes.
it is first of the four basic principles, just the four tenets of like that we say, the four principles: no meeting, no meat eating, no gambling. So it's like that. It's like basically the basic condition where a human starts living, fulfilling his duty as a human and coming to the
So you can say he's in mode of goodness, which
mode of
we
goodness.
aspire for. Yes. So
So
mode
getting
of
to the mode
goodness,
of goodness.
Bhagavad Gita also says that. Bhagavad Gita also, before coming to the devotional principles, our goal is to at least rise to the mode of goodness. So definitely, we have to conduct ourselves morally, ethically, with values and honesty. All those values, good qualities, they are all in mode of goodness. So doing good for others, it's never condemned. But we are going to the next level of goodness with God in it, which is the devotional principle, the transcendental principle, which takes karma to the level of a karma. But yes, first we have to rise to the mode of goodness, and then we can consider about being transcendental. Yes, Nagarjun Prabhu, please share that.
Yeah, I'll share. Just to finish the thought that he said that it is okay as long as it is not equated to service of God. So it
Yes.
is okay that you do service of Manav Seva is okay, but it is not equivalent to Madhav Seva. So as long as that is understood, then it is fine.
Yeah. It's the next level. But yes, but that itself is also good, but we are trying to go to the next level also. That's amazing. Thank you. Yes, please. Wonderful realizations by everyone. Any other thoughts? If not, we can stop. We have run out of time and running late actually. We'll stop for today. Thank you so much for joining. Vancha kaltarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva patitanam pavanebhyo
Yeah, right.
Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mother.